I spent 2 months planning my sister's wedding. Every tiny detail passed through my hands. The color palette, the menu, the seating layout, the vendor schedules. My sister handed me the entire workload because she said she was too stressed to handle anything. I told myself I was helping out of love, even though she barely thanked me. My parents never checked on how I was doing either. They simply assumed I had endless time and energy, like I existed only to make the event perfect. As the date approached, the pressure grew heavier. I was the one answering last-minute calls from decorators, adjusting flower shipments, calming chaotic vendors, and fixing the music playlist she kept changing. My sister loved the attention. She treated the whole thing like a royal coronation. Meanwhile, I was pulling late nights, skipping meals, and fighting exhaustion just to keep everything on track. My parents praised her constantly for her vision and her taste, even though she didn't lift a finger. Yet no one asked how I was managing. They acted like wedding staff magically appeared at her command. On the wedding day, I arrived early to double-check every setup. The hall looked beautiful, exactly how my sister demanded, but no one acknowledged the amount of work it took. While guests arrived, I tried to blend into the background so everything would run smoothly. When it was time for dinner, I walked to my assigned table, expecting to find my name among the family members. Instead, the card waiting for me stopped me cold. Stupid, low-educated sister. The words sat there like a slap, bold and intentional. At first, I thought it had to be a mistake, some mix-up from the planner. But then I noticed my sister across the hall, laughing with 2 bridesmaids while pointing in my direction. My parents didn't even look surprised when they saw me staring at the card. They simply went back to their conversation as if this wasn't humiliating, as if I didn't deserve a basic level of respect after everything I had done. My stomach twisted. Months of work, and this was how they chose to acknowledge me. Not with gratitude, not with a quiet thank you, just public degradation. And they expected me to sit down, swallow it, and smile through the night like nothing happened. But something inside me shifted at that moment, something quiet and final. The message on the place card should have been the worst part of that night, but it was only the beginning. The humiliation hit like a punch, sharp and immediate, but the second wave came slower, a burning mix of betrayal, disbelief, and a strange, icy clarity. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a joke. It was intentional, and it was meant to wound. I could see it in the way heads turned, in the little smirks some relatives tried to hide behind their drinks. My sister's wedding had become a stage, and I had been cast as the fool without ever agreeing to the role. For years, I had worked quietly, often silently, doing everything asked of me. Every errand, every phone call, every rehearsal, every vendor appointment. My fingerprints were all over the wedding she was celebrating. I had organized the flower arrangements when she forgot the deadline. I had spent hours fixing the guest list after she changed it 10 times. I had ironed out problems she never even knew existed. Yet none of that mattered to her. None of it mattered to the family that had always treated her like a golden trophy and me like a background decoration. Standing there, staring at that place card, something inside me shifted. The years of small insults, dismissive looks, and whispered comparisons lined up in my mind like a long chain finally reaching its breaking point. I felt the weight of all the times I had swallowed my pride to keep peace. I felt the sting of every moment they made her shine by dimming me. And I realized this night wasn't an unfortunate mistake. It was the clearest truth about how they saw me. But as the shock settled, something else rose, resolve. I didn't cause this chaos. I didn't choose this role they tried to force on me. I had only ever shown up, done my part, and tried to hold the family together in ways no one bothered to acknowledge. And if this was how they wanted to treat me, then they would also have to face what came next. I moved through the reception with slow, deliberate steps, taking everything in. The flowers I had picked, the centerpieces I had assembled, the seating chart I had redesigned at midnight, the playlist I curated when my sister forgot to send music preferences. My work was everywhere, woven into the fabric of the evening like threads no one noticed unless they pulled them loose. And someone had pulled them loose, not by accident, but to watch me unravel. Across the room, my parents were laughing with relatives, completely unaware of what had just happened. Or worse, fully aware and comfortable with it. I didn't approach them. I didn't call attention to myself. I simply let the quiet anger sharpen my thoughts. They had taken everything I gave and turned it into a weapon to embarrass me. And they had expected me to stay silent, smile, and keep serving. Instead, I stayed focused. I watched the event unfold, noting every detail, the way someone takes inventory before deciding what to keep and what to leave behind. Something was changing in me, and I didn't intend to ignore it. A few guests noticed the place card and whispered, but their reactions didn't matter. What mattered was that I finally saw the truth without softening it. I didn't owe them endless patience. I didn't owe them blind loyalty. And I definitely didn't owe them my silence. Their treatment had never been accidental. It had always been a pattern, and tonight only exposed it for everyone to see. As the music played and the celebration swirled around me, I felt strangely calm. The hurt was still there, sharp and raw, but beneath it was something steadier. A sense of direction I had never allowed myself to feel before. This moment, this ugly, humiliating moment, wasn't the end of anything. It was the beginning, the point where I finally stopped letting them define who I was, the point where I stopped carrying responsibilities they weaponized against me, the point where I decided I wouldn't let them turn my efforts into mockery ever again. If they expected me to stay quiet, they were about to be surprised. Because after tonight, everything was going to change. The night wore on, and the laughter around me felt hollow, almost performative. I drifted through the crowd like a shadow, observing without being observed, cataloging every detail. Each smile, each toast, each clink of glasses now carried a new weight, the weight of my awareness. I noticed the small victories they celebrated, unaware that their triumphs were no longer mine to mourn. Their approval no longer defined me. A quiet clarity settled over me, sharper than any anger. I realized that for years I had measured my worth by their standards, bending, shaping, and shrinking myself to fit a mold that was never meant for me. That night, in the glow of chandeliers and the hum of music, I finally let that weight fall away. I didn't need their recognition. I didn't need their applause. I didn't even need their understanding. For the first time, I felt free, not because they had changed, but because I had. The roles they assigned, the judgments they made, the comparisons they thrived on, they no longer had power over me. This freedom was mine to claim, quiet but undeniable. And with it came resolve, a promise to myself that their mockery would no longer dictate my path. Tonight had exposed them, but it had also exposed me, the part of me that would rise unbroken, no longer invisible, no longer silent. Everything after this night would be different. Everything after this night would be mine.